Hello and welcome to February Surrey Heath eSurgery. Now, it could be a very quick one tonight because we've only got me and Dan, I'm afraid. A couple of people had to pull out, councillors had to pull out at the last minute, which they send their apologies for. I think we always said early on that we wouldn't always get everybody. So thanks for joining me tonight, Dan. No problem. Now, Councillor Dan Adams, just to introduce Dan to everybody, is one of the three councillors for St Paul's Ward. He is one of. He also has Councillor Vivian Chapman and Councillor Bill Chapman as his ward colleagues in St Paul's. And for those who don't know me, I'm Paul Deach, and I represent Mitchett and Deach. Dan and I both serve at Surrey Heath Borough Council. And on the same committee, I'm the chairman of the External Partnerships Select Committee. And Dan is the vice chairman of that committee as well. And really, this is just an opportunity to talk about what we've been up to for the last sort of month or so. If there's anything going on in the community. I've got to say, actually, from a casework point of view, I don't know about you, Dan, but for the last month or so, it's actually been quite quiet. I don't want to jinx it, but I haven't actually had a million emails, which is what I normally get from residents about various things. It's actually been quite a quiet month. Has that been the same for you?
Just wait for your inbox tomorrow.
Yeah, I had to go and jinx it, didn't I? But yeah, should I start and then?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. Really, we had a phenomenal external partnerships committee earlier on in January.
Back in January, middle of January, wasn't it? It's fantastic.
It was brilliant. We had some really good presentations from various organisations. So we had the Alzheimer's Association and various offshoots to that. And I think there is a kind of appetite within Surrey Heath to make Surrey Heath a dementia-friendly borough.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's what they were aiming for as well, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really good to have the portfolio holder for the community there, Viv Chapman.
Yeah, definitely.
And other councillors outside of the committee showing an interest in what was going on there. And there were some really good contributions from councillors at that meeting. And I've got to say, I learned a lot about dementia. I'm an ex-healthcare professional, so I kind of, have some exposure to people. An idea, but I still learned about how we go about making Surrey Heath a dementia-friendly borough. And the first part of that is councillors actually attending a course about being dementia friendly and recognising various elements of dementia, not just with people who have it, but their families as well.
That's right. I attended that course to be a dementia friend back in November, I think it was.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah. It's really, really good course.
So what sort of things?
It's just saying, how with dementia or Alzheimer's or any offshoots of those illnesses would potentially see something. So how they would view the world compared to the likes of you and I, for example. So one key thing that they said to me was, if you have a doormat, don't make it a black doormat if you've got somebody with dementia coming to visit, because they'll be absolutely petrified. Right. Because in their eyes, they see that as a black hole. They see it in a 3D kind of way, so remove any kind of black mat. Don't have any kind of swirls on a carpet, because they'll see that as moving snakes almost. So it was just very, very interesting to have my eyes opened to things that I didn't know. I didn't know if that's how they viewed the world.
I think I would like to do that course, and I think there was an invitation there. There's an invitation there, wasn't there, for all councillors to take part in that at some point in the future. And I think that I used to be, like I say, a healthcare professional, and one of the things that I learned through being exposed to people, not just with dementia, but all sorts of ailments and illnesses, but also just being elderly, people who slow down. And that is just to have a bit of patience with people in the community. If somebody's behaving what you think as being strange or slow or getting in your way or whatever, there's probably a good reason for it.
I was going to say there is a reason for it, So
and just just show a bit of community spirit, really.
That's it, exactly. And that's what they're trying to aim at, is to get everybody in the community with an awareness of these illnesses that can happen to any one of us or any one of our loved ones, So, I spoke to the person who actually put on that course, and, it's all very well counsellors going on these courses as well, but I'd love to be able to open that up to the community. So she's actually going to put together some courses for members of the public to be able to go on as well. So,
will you let us know about that, Dan, so that we can make sure we advertise that to the community, because I think that would be very worthwhile. Important. Yeah, definitely. But I think that it goes even further than that, by being a dementia-friendly borough, by educating the businesses in the borough, so that, particularly customer-facing businesses where they may get customers in that might have dementia or the family, to make their businesses more welcoming to those kind of people.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is as well, it's very important because, the people that have dementia, Alzheimer's, or any of those illnesses, again, they're trained to recognise the badge, so the Dementia Friend badge.
Oh, right. So
then they recognise that somebody's walking down the street. They know they can approach them without feeling silly about anything or whatever, So it'd be fantastic to have a lot of those badges floating around the borough, right, and also businesses,
Right, absolutely. Okay, well, that's great, and we'll try and make sure that we try and push that forward and just really extend the reach of that into the community. The more people that are aware of it, the better. And there's some really good work going on with organisations like, for instance, one of the mayor's supported charities this year, Councillor Joanne Potter's charity, is actually the Alzheimer's Cafe in Camberley, which is a great organisation run by an amazing woman, Maureen, who does some incredible work in the community. So there's all sorts of things going on from that regard. We also had a great presentation from Peter Close from Camberley Care Trust. Camberley Care Trust do, again, fantastic work. Two main areas that they focus on is providing almost like a taxi service to not just elderly residents, but ill residents, vulnerable residents, to take them to doctor's appointments, hospital appointments, that type of thing. Just brilliant.
There's another one of those where my parents live down in Ferring on the south coast, and my dad does it it's called Friends of Ferring down there. So it's a very similar service where they can phone a helpline at Camberley Care, and then they can book somebody that's trusted to be able to drive them, exactly like you say, to doctors, hospital appointments. In fact, anywhere that they need to go,
shopping,
to go and visit, to visit family members or whatever.
Right. And the service, although they do ask for some kind of contribution, whether it be a donation or whatever, that's not mandatory. So if you're, if you're low income or you're skint, basically,
exactly,
they don't expect a payment from you, which is fantastic.
It's fantastic, really good, isn't it? And they've also said they've launched this handyman service as well.
Right, yeah, that's
I don't know if you were going to mention that.
I was, Go on, you carry on.
Yeah. Well, the handyman service I thought was, again, fantastic because, the elderly members of our community, they do need help with, installing a grab rail in the bathroom or changing a light bulb. You don't, things that you and I or other members of the public would possibly just take for granted, of get the step ladders out and change a bulb.
You'd think my missus would say, my missus trying to get me to change a light bulb. She says it takes months. But no, joking aside, what might appear to be something very simple and straightforward to an elderly resident actually can be quite dangerous, standing on a step ladder and changing
most definitely.
Again, another fantastic service, and they have a full-time guy actually doing that, going around the community, doing that for elderly residents, and again, just for a contribution, but that's not mandatory. If they can't, the resident can't afford it, they don't. They'll do it for free, which is wonderful, really, isn't it? We have these things in our community.
Definitely, I think it's fantastic.
And there was another one, another presentation that we had, which. I've always said I'm amazed that I get almost on a weekly basis. I consider myself quite plugged into the community and knowing a lot of what goes on. But even I get surprised almost on a weekly basis of new organisations, charities, voluntary groups, societies that I've never heard of before. And one such organisation, we had a fantastic presentation from Lightwater Formation for the Vulnerable and Elderly.
Live.
Yeah.
And
I think that was Councillor Rebecca Jennings-Evans who put that on our radar.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Neither of us had heard of them at all before that.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us? Do you want to, for those?
Well,
we got quite a few people watching now, so just explain what.
Yeah. Well, they're live. Are based out of a building in the High Street in Lightwater. They're open Saturday mornings, and they just provide information to help, again, vulnerable and the elderly residents of where to go for certain things. You know, they might have a need for, I don't know, let's say a window cleaner or whatever, and not know exactly where to go for that help. So they go there, and it's a directional service.
It's a signposting service.
That's it, yeah.
I suppose it could be likened to a kind of more hyper-local version of the Citizens Advice Bureau, but they don't really give advice, but they tell people where to go to get that advice.
That's it, and they just point people in the right direction of where to go. Yeah,
and I was really impressed. A really dedicated bunch of people. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more from them. They're quite a new organisation, so they're not very active on social media or things like that, but I think they will be. So it was really great to get a presentation from them.
Yeah, definitely.
So that covers that committee meeting that you and I attended, and I really enjoyed that, and I always learn something from those committees, which is.
No, it's probably one of my favourite committees, though, that external partnerships, just learning about, who the council work with, for the residents.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Surrey Police and Crime Commissioner elections are coming up. Now, the last time we had the elections, which was the first time actually because the current PCC is the only one we've ever had, because it's quite a new concept.
First time. Yes.
Yeah, the PCC replaced the police authority basically, and it's the political side of the police, and they're the ones that set the policy, the budgets, all that.
And they run the budget. Yeah.
Right, and so we've got an election coming up in May this year, and one of the things that the community that came out from the last election was that it wasn't very well advertised. Because it was such a new concept.
It was a new position. And
well, that's not the case now. And if you're watching this, whether it's live, we've got quite a few people watching this live now, or the recording afterwards. The police is a very important part of our, our everyday life. They do great work in our community, so it's important that people pay an interest in it. Now, I definitely back in the Conservative candidate, David Munro. He's a former chairman of Surrey County Council. He's a current elected representative, I think, Waverley, is it? He's one of the councillors over in Farnham. Is it Waverley?
Yeah, Waverley. Yeah.
Very experienced, very public-spirited guy. He's served at the council for quite a few years, and I think he is the man for the job.
Yeah, definitely.
And he comes from a military background as well. Really understands what it takes to first of all offer a public service, because that's what he does as an elected representative. But also, I think that he's an intelligent guy, and he understands the inner workings, budgets, those types of things. And I think that that's really important for that role. So I would love to see David get elected, and I will be campaigning for him.
I've seen him really getting involved in social media as well across the borough. Well, not just the borough, sorry. He's been across Surrey the past few weeks, really, getting anywhere he possibly can do and meeting people and finding out what the problems actually are.
He was in Surrey Heath at the weekend. I know he was in Lightwater, Bagshot and Windlesham, I think.
Yes.
The three villages there. And I did one of these, a live blab with him a few weeks ago, and it was brilliant. I mean, we had over 20 questions from residents right across Surrey.
That's great that everyone's getting involved in it this time.
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have got an elections coming up. Make sure you exercise your democratic right to vote. It's very important. It's a very important position as well, the Police and Crime Commissioner. So make sure that you show out and vote, whether it's for the guy that we're supporting, David Munro, or whoever. Make sure you do that.
Yeah.
So that was that. And obviously the big thing in the news at the moment is in, out, or shake it all about. And that's the EU referendum. And our MP, Michael Gove, set his stall and said, actually, I'm supporting an out campaign. To quite a few people, that was a surprise. And I think that this is going to dominate the news, the media, and everything now, right the way from now till June.
You're not going to hear much else.
Yeah. And just in case, because I've had a lot of communication via social media, people asking me, and in the street, what are my views on it? And quite simply, at the moment, I'm leaning towards out. If the truth be told, I don't think that the negotiations that I saw anyway, and the results from those negotiations have really sort of done anything. That I was on the fence. And I really wanted, David Cameron to get a better deal for us. Yeah. And I think that he did really well, but I just don't think it went far enough. That's my personal view.
Exactly. And that's what it's all down to, isn't it? It's all down to everyone's own personal interpretations of what the deal was and, what they believe is right for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I'm glad that Michael, really, it's something that he does actually a lot. I'm a big supporter of Michael Gove. One thing I love about Michael is he's not afraid to go against party line or whatever. He did the same on gay marriage, if you remember. At grassroots level, at local level, actually, grassroots Conservatives were dead against it. But he went with his conscience.
Stood by his views.
And another thing is he really does think things through. He's such an intelligent guy, and I really respect his views. Don't always agree with him on everything. I remember he and I had a disagreement on smoking in public.
Okay.
Right. And he didn't really want to legislate against smoking in public. And I did. But, the thing is you can disagree without falling out.
Well, of course you can do. That's what politics is, isn't it? You don't have to fall out. Because...
absolutely. But one thing that I always look to Michael to see what his views are, because he's such a smart guy. And I know that he will have looked into it in depth. And that's obviously what he's done here. I think it's a different situation with Boris Johnson, if the truth be told. I think it's obvious what he's doing. But, with Michael, that's what he firmly believes. And, I really respect that.
It's a long press release, but I don't know if you've read his press release that he released on Saturday, it was really, really interesting to read it. So if anyone hasn't yet read it, it's well worth a read.
Can I ask you where you stand, Dan?
I'm pinning my colours to the mast. I'm definitely in the outs as well.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Right. That is interesting, considering that you trade internationally.
I'll tell you, about 2 months ago, I was definitely in the Remain camp, definitely in. And then somehow, probably about 6 weeks ago, I started wavering as I was reading a lot more into it. And it's all about educating yourself as well, and I went completely about turn, and now I know exactly the whole deal that David Cameron's come up with, and I'm now vote leave.
Yeah, I'm the same, and you never know, something could change my mind again.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a long time between now. It's a long time in politics between now and June, and you never know, something might happen. But at the moment, I am leaning towards out. And interestingly, one of our councillors at Surrey Heath Borough Council, Oliver Lewis, is actually heavily involved in the Vote Leave campaign. And in fact, when Michael Gove when it was announced, and Michael Gove went into the Vote Leave campaign offices in London, Oliver was there.
Yeah.
There's a great photo of him. And, he's a great guy, Oliver Lewis. He's the Frimley Green councillor at Surrey Heath Borough Council. I'll certainly be looking to him.
Yeah, 'cause he'll have a lot of knowledge as well, you know.
He will.
Yeah,
He will.
I saw his picture up there with all of that. So, you know, he gets his photo up there taken on TV with Michael Gove and all of that. And I'm with Mr. Emmett's fruit and veg stall on the news. You know, there's something wrong there, you know.
Yeah, when I grow up, I want to be like Oliver Lewis. Absolutely. So that's the EU referendum. There was two other things I wanted to mention. There's a meeting next Monday night. It's the Heatherside Residence meeting. Now, neither of us are Heatherside councillors, but one of the big things on the agenda there is the deep cut redevelopment. And they've managed to get Studio Hive, who, on behalf of the developer Skanska, to be at the meeting and answer residents' questions. And Heatherside councillors will also be there. I don't think I will be there. I have been invited by Kirsty North to attend the meeting, but I already have 2 meetings that night, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I'll do my very best, though, but I can't commit right now. But I hope the meeting goes well, and I hope residents, because the thing is that all the focus has been on deep cut residents, understandably, because that's where the development is.
Yeah.
But this affects the whole borough. It's not just deep cut. Of
course it does. Yeah.
And with Heatherside being literally right next door, you know, it affects them just as much as everybody else, really, in deep cut. So I'm glad that they've done this meeting, and also well done to all the residents there. They've over the last sort of 12 months, formed this residents association on the Heatherside estate. And it's nice to see, because before there was just a very informal sort of thing on Facebook, and kind of descended into chaos sometimes, with a couple of people on the Heatherside with strong political views and an agenda. And really, all residents want there is a voice. And hats off to people like Kirsty North and others for facilitating that. It's really nice to see. So, well done.
I know it's obviously very, very new, isn't it, that whole group?
It is, yeah. In fact, it's not even a year. It's probably about 6 months or something. Yeah.
Wow.
So well done to all those guys. And finally, one last thing. Vivian Chapman, who is the your councillor colleague at St Paul's, and also the portfolio holder for the community, has set up a Facebook page. People should look at that. If you're interested in what goes on in the community, Vivian is involved in a lot of things within the community, and her husband as well, Bill, who's also a county councillor, and I think he'll be setting up a page soon too. But keep an eye on her page, because I think that you might get some really useful information from that. So I just wanted to give that a plug. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Dan?
No, not really. I mean, well, the other thing I would like to mention is I was called out by a resident, asked to go and visit them late last week, I think Friday. And it was, they live near the junction of Gibbet Lane and Larchwood Glade.
I don't even know where that is.
It's off the A30, not far. You know where the fire station is? So, yeah. I think it's the next turning on the right if you keep the fire station on your left.
Right.
So just down there. And there's a real problem with some people parking right near to the junction. So I'd just like to remind everybody, if possible, there's of the Highways Act, Rule 243, which states, like, please don't park opposite or within 10 metres of any junction except in an authorised parking space. So it's important to be able to get emergency vehicles. You know, it's not just Gibbet Lane and Larchwood Glade. You know, this happens across.
Oh God, parking is one issue. I mean, at Dettington Park, where I live in Deep Cut, you know, it's a private estate, so it's not enforced by the council or anything like that. And I've lived here since 2003, and in all that time, we've had some issues here.
Yeah,
and we've managed to resolve them all, with the exception of parking.
Right,
parking is one, and I think that one well-known fact is that Surrey Heath has the highest car ownership, or one of the highest car ownerships in the UK per household. But I mean, it's just simple community spirit. I mean, Surrey Police are doing this campaign at the moment where they're trying to educate residents about what the police are responsible for, because they get a lot of calls that it's not really their responsibility. And sort of obstructive parking is one of them, and the campaign is like a car parked across someone's driveway.
I've seen that. Only today, actually, I saw that campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I responded to that on Facebook, on the Surrey Residence Network Facebook page. Someone had put a comment on there. And it's just common decency. Don't park across somebody's driveway and block them. I mean, it's just that would have never have happened in my day where I grew up.
Strange, isn't it?
I wouldn't dream of doing that. Yeah. And so please, just show a bit of community spirit and a bit of common decency. And also be aware that, an ambulance might need to get down, or a fire truck, and cause obstructions. Yes. It's as simple as that. If you can't find somewhere to park, then park a few hundred yards away and walk wherever it is.
That's all they need is somebody to, all these cars that are parking there, is just literally move 5-10 meters further back, and clear that junction. That's all it is.
Yeah. So it's just walk a bit, you lazy buggers. Excellent. So we're 4 minutes till the end of this, Dan. I know you want to talk about the Mayor's Ball.
Yes. Well, I sit on the Mayor's Charity Committee, and she's having her mayoral ball on the 14th of May at Lakeside. So if anybody is interested in tickets for that, it's a masquerade ball. So if anyone's interested in tickets for that, please do get in touch with me, and I can point you in the right direction to find out more information.
And it is a charity ball, and the Mayor is this year, Councillor Joanne Potter, is supporting some tremendous local charities.
Three major
so you've got I've already mentioned one of them, the Alzheimer's Cafe. The other one is the other two. So what are the other two? You've got
Parity for Disability,
which is a brilliant charity, and one of their outreach centres is in Mitchett, which is in my ward. The other one. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. Sebastian's Action Trust is the other one.
Sebastian's Action Trust. Now they're a regional charity, but they're based in Bagshot. And they just do some incredible work, Sebastian's Action Trust, for children, not necessarily terminally ill children, but very ill children. That they've got this amazing holiday home called the Bluebells, Basingstoke Way, where it's a holiday home. And, things that we take for granted, like just a normal bed. Well, if you've got a really profoundly disabled or ill child, you'd need hoists and things like that. And this holiday home has been adapted. It's got a swimming pool in there, so that children that are really phenomenal. So children who are really ill can enjoy a holiday with their family like everybody else. And they do lots of other stuff. They've got an outreach centre, support centre in Slough as well. Fantastic charity, and was actually the brainchild of a little boy called Sebastian.
That's right.
Sebastian Gates, who I think it was his 12th birthday, if my memory serves me right.
I don't know that.
It was very young anyway. Right. It was his idea literally a couple of weeks before he died, and his mum has campaigned tirelessly to create this amazing charity. And great that the Mayor is supporting it.
Definitely.
So, so I'll be there. Dan will be there. Probably embarrassing ourselves. So come and enjoy. Absolutely. So make sure you join us at the Mayor's Charity Ball. It'll be a lot of fun. Was there anything else, Dan, or I think that's it?
No, that's it really. Yeah.
Well, we've actually ended up with quite a lot of people watching this in the end, 22 people, which is great considering we advertised it right at the last minute. We'll try and do our best to advertise these a bit better in future. I know you were saying that to me earlier, Dan. And this recording of this will be made available to everybody afterwards. Dan, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
No, thank you.